I'm Orlando Jones, and I just want you to know that the Moana Nui podcast will be starting soon. Stay tuned, yo.
I'm Veronica Taylor, and from myself and Ash Ketchum, I just want to say, Moana Nui, I choose you!
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Moana Nui After Dark podcast, presenting DC Comics Blue Beetle tonight. Before I bring in the other panel, I just want to say that the wildfires in Hawaii are still, aftermath is still affecting those living there. So if you would like to give, contribute, help out in any way, please scan the QR code in the bottom corner. That'll give you a link to resources and aid that you can help out with those unfortunate who have been devastated by those wildfires out in Hawaii. And with that, I will bring in our panel so we can discuss Blue Beetle this evening. Hello, everyone.
Hello. What's up, guys?
All right, Kyle.
All right, so we are here to discuss the second to last DCEU movie remaining in their catalog. So this is the before Aquaman 2 comes out, which is the last DCEU movie. This is the second to last film. So we're here to discuss that one. Just off the rip, I was pretty jazzed when was like two years ago when I first heard about this movie coming out, and was super jazzed, especially when I found out who was playing Jaime Reyes. Zolo Marduena I really liked him in Cobra Kai, and I thought he was an amazing actor in that. So I was pretty pumped when I found out he was going to be Jaime Reyes, and in my opinion, he definitely delivered. So yeah, we're going to start around first introduce our panel that we've got with us today. So above me, we've got Teresa. Next to me on my left here, we've got Joy.
Hello.
And then cat corner up here, we got my guy James.
He's down there.
So first things first, would you guys say you had a extensive knowledge of Blue Beetle prior to seeing this film, or not so much? What had you known about Blue Beetle prior to seeing the movie?
Nothing. I've never heard of the character.
Okay.
Since we'll probably be going in gradations here, she's never heard of the character. I remember that character being on like Young Justice or some like DC cartoon universe that was on Cartoon Network.
Yeah.
That was the extent of my exposure, and yeah, he was just another one. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I have a little bit of knowledge from him in the comic books for the handful of DC comics that I've read, and he's mostly been a bit player, like never really standing out.
He's like
in the
Booster
limelight.
Gold.
Huh?
Like Booster Gold. Like I know
Right.
what it is.
Yeah.
Right. Like when I stumbled onto him, he didn't have his own series. You know, so he was always part of a team, Justice League, Titans, you know, dipping in and out, never really sticking around long periods. And then the animated universe is where I came to get to know him from. Batman Brave and the Bold, Young Justice. I think there's one other series that he's shown up in. I'm forgetting off the top of my head, but through that, especially in Young Justice seasons 2 and 3, you really get to see him like in the forefront in a few episodes, dealing with what he has to deal with. And of course, the DC animated films, when they actually do finally get to the Teen Titans, he is one of the core members of that group as well, where Starfire is the leader. So,
So I was going to say my experience as far as with Blue Beetle, of course, I read some of the classic comics with Ted Kord, but then the first live action version I seen was in Smallville. they had Jaime Reyes and the Blue Beetle in the Smallville universe.
I forgot about that.
Yes.
I forgot he was in Smallville. You're
I
right.
didn't watch Smallville long enough to get there.
Him and Booster Gold actually appeared in Smallville.
I do remember Booster Gold because that was a trip that they actually played him accurately. I was surprised by that.
Yes, it was great. It was great. So seeing the live action version of him got me interested as far as because I had never heard of Jaime Reyes prior to that. So seeing him in the New 52, reading a couple of books like Blue Beetle Metamorphosis, a couple other comics where it kind of explored his family a little bit more. Got more into that character. I thought that was really dope. And then of course, Young Justice, as far as the storyline with the Reach, I thought that was incredible.
Yeah.
So yeah, Jaime Reyes came to be my favorite Blue Beetle out of Ted Cord and I'm trying to think of the other guy. I forget the first guy, but yeah,
Cord's predecessor. Yeah.
So considering the varying levels of understanding and interest in the Blue Beetle, I want to start with Teresa, someone who's basically clean slate, because I think you can get unbiased opinion of the movie based on, not comparing it to the canon or to the previous iterations. Just what'd you think of the movie as a movie?
As a movie, I enjoyed it immensely. I've already seen it twice, and would definitely see it again because I really enjoyed the portrayals, the actor portrayals, the storyline. I think it was refreshing to see a fully, let me not PC, but Latinx family. George Lopez didn't get on my nerves as much as I expected him to do.
True.
That was a surprise for me too.
Right. Because I was fully prepared to not like him because I have heard some bad things about him here lately. But he did a great job. He was actually funny. And I really enjoyed the movie, the whole Beetle thing. Just a great job overall, I think.
Yeah.
Good introduction.
Yeah, exactly. Good introduction. I thought I liked it. I thought they did a good job because I'm one of those people where I can get lost in the fantasy until something bothers me. Then I'm like, this is all bullshit. So sometimes one thing will happen and I'll be like, that's impossible. And then I'm like, I don't believe the rest of the movie. I didn't get that with Blue Beetle. And so even though they have this weird, potentially alien technology with the Scarab and everything, it played okay for me. I mean, if I can deal with vibranium, I can deal with that Scarab. Right. And the Tesseract and all that kind of stuff. There's just enough science in it to the way like it integrated with his body. And I've seen some of the neuroskeleton like attachment that they've done for people who are paralyzed, and they give them working function of their legs again by integrating some metal in their spine. So it's just on the other edge of possible, which makes it okay for me. I thought they did a good job with that background, specifically of how that beetle worked.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed.
I also liked Oliver Trails. I thought Jaime was a really good character. And I liked that nobody was a weakling in this movie. Like there was no like, everybody was going for theirs. Everybody had
damsel in distress tropes in this movie at all.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Because that does get played. I will say, because it hasn't been one in a while, it was a little refreshing to see an origin story.
Yeah.
That was actually good, because I will say the last several times both DC and Marvel have tried origin stories, they've missed.
Yeah.
We got spoiled by Iron Man because of how good that was, and then they felt like, oh yeah, everything's going to be an origin, and Cap was, unless you like World War II stuff, Cap was not that great. Yeah. Thor was mid. Less said the better, but
yes, mid was generous.
And going forward through, until we got the Guardians, and which really wasn't an origin story, it was just pretty much a formation of a team. But for this and what they were doing, and I can get on DC as far as the rehashing of Batman over and over and over again. I don't care about seeing the Waynes die in that alleyway. I really don't. Let's just skip to the part to where he's been Batman for like X number of years, and he's just moody and brooding in his cave with Alfred telling him to get outside and get some sunlight. But yeah, this was a very good origin story because we haven't had one in a while, and it was refreshing as far as delving into the Latinx family dynamic.
We had Shazam.
Yeah, so like I said, this is a good one in a while. and don't get me wrong, I like Shazam as a superhero family-oriented film. I don't like it as an origin story.
Correct. I think this was a superhero origin film with a family aspect that was actually good.
Yeah.
Yes. Because you didn't like, I feel like in Shazam, first of all, I felt like the depiction of Billy Batson and Shazam were two different entities. It didn't make sense.
Yeah.
Those actors did not play like the same person.
Right. I feel like Zola Marduena played perfect. Played Jaime perfectly.
Absolutely.
His sister, Milo, she was awesome. George Lopez was great as Uncle Rudy, and you felt as like towards the end of the movie, you felt that like that relationship between him and Jaime is like when Jaime gets again because that the writing is so good and because they all mesh together as a cast and they mesh well together. It all comes across as believable. So I thought the writing in that was incredible. I thought the underlying commentary of a parasite was written really well, because if you see that Jaime has a parasite, the community and the thing, like they show a Starbucks, they show a yoga, so you see the community is being fed on by the parasite of the cords. And you see, like, as far as with Carapax, the whole OMAC thing is essentially a parasite. So writing that kind of commentary into the film, I think, was brilliant, and it was subtle. It was very subtle. And the last thing I'll say, one of the things I kind of like, this movie is more or less like, I know James Gunn's mentioned, it's a Superman legacy film. You're going to have established characters or established heroes in that universe when he comes onto the scene. So the fact that we saw small hints to other heroes in this film, like you saw like Gotham Law, like Jaime went to Gotham University as far as study law. You saw the previous Blue Beetles that Rudy had mentioned, like, oh, Blue Beetle was like, so again, even though it doesn't take place in the DCU, there is a precursor to how things may work with the new regime coming in. So I thought it was a really, really, really good film. So
I mean, you mentioned all the characters. We ain't gonna talk about Grandma.
Right.
Oh, we'll get to her. We'll get to her. Nana was dope.
I want a prequel about her life so bad.
Right.
Grandma was a gangster from way back.
What was her life like as a child?
Right. I thought what would be excellent, because me and a couple of friends were actually talking about it. What would be excellent is if she was essentially a rebel fighter in Corto Maltese, where Bane's origin essentially is. Because I know the film director actually wanted to write a Bane movie when he was brought on board, and they had pitched him, instead of writing Bane, we'll give you Blue Beetle instead.
Yeah, so I think the trade-off.
But you don't have Batman. You don't have Batman in that Bane film.
I don't want Batman in that Bane film because, and not to get off topic, Bane is like, for people who've stopped keeping up with Batman villains after Adam West's show, Bane is easily top tier, like top three character. Him, Ra's al Ghul, and I don't care who your third is, but easily Bane, Ra's al Ghul are 1-2 as far as his rogues gallery. So I could see a Bane film without Batman working, if done properly, working well, because Bane is not just some hulking brute. He's smart as hell.
Yes.
And that's the part that I hated about him in those previous movies that he was in. They made him an idiot. It's not Bane.
Yeah.
But not a good trade-off.
When he dropped Batman across his knee, that was to crack her around the world. Like when he broke Batman's back, that has been memed and gifted and parodied so many times. Just Adult Swim would not let that go for like a whole year. Everything was bad. They just show up out of nowhere. Why again? It was great. It was great. But yeah, I think Bane is a top tier villain because he's one of the people where I can kind of understand where he's coming from. Ra's al Ghul as well. He's insane, but I kind of get it. Like that whole, cause chaos, purge the world. It's a nihilistic, or what's the other word I'm looking for? Anarchist type of mentality.
Yeah.
I get it. It's the ones that are just two-dimensional. I'm bad. I'm evil for no reason. Those are boring to watch. You know. So Ra's al Ghul and Bane. Yeah, I mash up. See them together.
So speaking of villains, this film had two. So you had Victoria Court and you had Carapax, the Indestructible Man. What do you guys think about those two?
Victoria.
She was a bitch.
In a word, yeah. That pretty much. I will say Susan Sarandon played that quite well because you felt like if you've been in a big family where you have, whether multiple siblings or cousins around the same age, and you constantly, you're growing up and you see them getting praise over you for what you deem as mundane, superficial things, and you're trying to figure out, wait, I did well in something too. Where's my recognition?
Right.
It's kind of like she was that overlooked person, but when you see her motives and her methods, you understand why she was skipped over and everything was given to Ted.
Yeah.
Ultimately she, more than likely had a hand in his disappearance, if you will.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
So like everything she did was pretty much because it's the whole thing of she never wanted the company to pivot because she was raised in the company, so to speak. So the company used to deal with the military, and then at some point they stopped when Ted took over, and she was like, "What are you doing? That's our money. That's our money you messing with. We got to get back to the military weapons and no, let's make the weapons."
Right.
So yeah, little. It wound her up to the point to where she basically lost her shit.
Yeah. And now I had a lot more empathy, especially towards the end of the movie, for what's his name, Carapax?
Carapax.
Understanding that he wasn't just evil cyborg, and that he had a backstory as well, and they didn't just paint him as a guy who let somebody do a bunch of stuff to him. But why did he do it? What was he up against? How did he feel about it? And then that slight redemption arc, I thought that was great.
Yeah.
It gives more depth to the movie, because I like that a lot of movies, especially these superhero movies that have been out in the last 15 years, are showing you that nobody's all good and nobody's all bad. Tony Stark is alcoholic. Thor is a womanizer. Loki is just out here wilding, And then you have Thanos, who wanted to help the universe. His methodology was trash. Killmonger, same thing. And then you've got Carapax, who started off wanting to not get revenge, but like to do something with the rest of his remaining life, since he was, watch the movie if you haven't watched it. I'm going to be that much of a spoiler, but
no, it's too late now. Spoilers, put them out there.
Yeah, so you got him wanting to do well, and then you realize after a while that you're not serving the purpose you wanted to serve, and then how do you deal with that? And so, again, that's what I said, and then that little flashback in the mind of what he had gone through and what this woman had done to his family. Like, it's a lot. It's a lot. I was glad that he, went out like that.
Yeah, I'll say that. 1 second. I will say that Susan Sarandon, her treatment of people was trash. She essentially saw everything and everybody as a commodity. So Carapax was a commodity for her use. Even the bit where she was like, "Have a Cuban cigar, they're made by real Cubans." It's just like that I was just like, The way she said that, for some
Mhm.
reason, I was like, oh.
It was
Seemed a little too
racist.
easy for her.
Yeah,
Right.
She just seemed a little bit way too easy for her coming out her mouth. Yeah.
right.
Mhm.
And the fact that she kept calling that guy, the doctor, Sanchez the entire time. I'm
Yes.
like,
Right.
bruh, he has a name. He has a name.
That's a real thing to just be calling people by
Yes.
the
Oh,
wrong
yeah.
name like that. She's so wrong for that.
Yeah. Yeah, so her character as a whole, I felt like she brought a lot to that villain, made that villain a lot more believable because you see people like that on a daily basis.
Mhm.
Carapax I thought was pretty good.
Mhm.
I even though he's not one of the big main villains of Blue Beetle, I thought he played that character very well. Loved his armor design. That
The
was the one
OMAC.
thing that yeah, Omac. I thought that was one thing I was like, I wonder how they're gonna pull it off in the movie. And then when I saw him in the trailer, I was like, okay, very cool, love it. So I love that aspect of it. And then like Joy had mentioned, his redemption arc towards the end that was heartfelt. So
Mhm.
you felt for him, like you
Yeah.
felt, yeah. So I enjoyed the villains in this movie for sure, for sure, for sure. So I'm trying to think what in
I
this
have a
film.
question.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
There was a little bit of chatter. Didn't really go anywhere, so
Okay.
it wasn't that big of a deal. But representation wise, there
Yes.
was a little bit of chatter about the lean in to some stereotypes from the Latin community, especially with George Lopez, et cetera. Like, bruh, what you doing?
Yeah.
I'm not in that community, so I can't speak to how they really felt about it. But and none of us are, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
So the discussion I want to have is, how did it hit you as a Black person watching some of these maybe a little bit over exaggerated archetypes, and where do you think we're headed with the movie industry? Because this is great representation from a Latin country, a Latin movie. But I feel like they might be a little bit behind, like us, as far as getting
Right.
away from the series. I'm interested in how y'all feel about all of that. Did y'all notice it first of all?
Yes.
I did.
I will say yes. I did, because Lopez has a history. Aside from I don't want to say, well, in conjunction with his previous TV shows, he does play a character that does lean heavily into stereotypes in almost everything he's been in. I can't think of anything off the top of my head where he didn't lean into a stereotype of the Latinx community.
Mm-hmm.
It's very hard to think about that. And yes, while there wasn't a lot of him in Blue Beetle, the times where you did see him, his character did lean into some of those stereotypes. And
it lightened up towards the end.
It did lighten up towards the end. And I get that they were played for comedic effect to not be taken seriously, because this film centered not only on Jaime Reyes, but also what his family as a whole was going through. His father pretty much, they were trying to hide the fact that his dad had pretty much shut down the family business that they were running, because they just couldn't afford the rent, or as far as they were using a space to operate out of. And then they were going to lose the home because they were behind on payments. And basically the whole community was facing the same thing because of what Court Industries is doing. Basically, you're seeing gentrification of an entire community.
As another parasite. Yeah.
Right. So I would say, George Lopez aside, the rest of the family I was fine with. Him in some moments, I was a little worried, because I'm like, I don't know if someone of the Latinx community will appreciate everything. Like, there may be bits and pieces where they were like, okay, that's cool, that's cool, that's cool. And other parts where they were like, that's a bit too far.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And and from what I've seen from, other blurbs and things that are put out there on like TikToks and IGs, whatever, the handful of people from the Latinx community who talk about this film overall love the movie.
Yeah.
Want more of it, but they do understand how Hollywood and this industry works, because there are so few Latinx characters in comics who are of note. And that's the thing. Blue Beetle is, unfortunately, the character of note now. Dating myself right now. If anybody read comics in the 80s, DC tried a new Justice League that was led by Martian Manhunter, where they were stationed out of Detroit. And one of the new characters they created was a character called Vibe.
Fire. Or is
Vibe.
Vibe. Okay, yeah, Vibe.
And Vibe was a disgrace. Vibe leaned into the breakdancing stereotype of the 80s.
Oh, no. He could have been doing capoeira.
No. So, like, if you remember Beat Street, with pretty much all the breakers were either black or Latino, and you remember Crazy Legs, they pretty much leaned whoever, and trust me, whoever created Vibe was not a person of color. But they had Vibe talk and act a certain way because of what they saw in other things, which was very limited at the time. Again, we're talking about the 80s, so there's not a major Latinx representation in that era.
Right. That's what I meant. That's what I meant when I said I felt like maybe the Latin community was a little bit behind us as a Black community, because we can't act like we didn't have George Jefferson, Good Times, Shanae. You know, we've had our share of you're doing the most type of stereotypes, but it's led towards this evolution. And so I think each community might be on a different Asian community as well. You know, you go from, oh my God, what are we doing in 16 Candles? Not even going to talk about that, to, you know, my whole Netflix is Asian right now, right? So the representation is changing, the images are changing, some of the stereotypes are being broken down. I think that's a journey, and I'm glad to see all communities of color on it. You really want to talk about something, need representation. Can we talk about, I can't remember the name of the Native American character that used to be in the old Justice League cartoon, but he would say like
Apache Chief.
Apache Chief.
That was some, if you think about it, that was some bullshit.
Well, him and the other three characters, him, Samurai, Black Vulcan, and
can't just be Vulcan.
Well, they created Black Vulcan because they couldn't get Black Lightning.
Yeah.
Because they didn't want to pay Tony Isabella, his creator. So they created Black Lightning.
Yep.
Of course, not wanting to pay a Black person for their work. So, and who was the fourth person? El Dorado. El Dorado was the fourth one. All racial stereotypes, because the Super Friends at the time was literally all white.
And the people writing for it and drawing for it were similar, and so they're drawing on their experience with like old westerns or some other movie or some other stereotype, or, you know, something that their friends said. But I think that also is one of the differences, like with going back to Blue Beetle. Yeah, George Lopez might have been a bit much at times, but so is Martin Lawrence. When I see him in a movie, he's a little bit much. And his family, you know, it's one thing, like, did it feel slightly a little bit inappropriately racist? Maybe just a touch, but it wasn't Transformers racist. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, we don't
like,
talk
that's
about
always that's my measuring stick. Was it Transformers racist with them two little cars? If it wasn't there, then we can talk. You know,
we don't talk about
was the movie a bad superhero movie, or was it Thor: Dark World bad? Like, there's measuring sticks for this.
Right.
Thor: Dark World is still the worst.
Is Thor: Dark World worse, or is the Black Widow movie worse than Thor: Dark World?
Thor: Dark World.
I like the Black Widow.
I can admit that as bad as Black Widow was, and I kind of wish I didn't pay money in the theater to see it. I could have stayed at home to watch it. Sorry.
Right.
It was still entertaining, but as far as the Marvel catalog of films, nothing is Thor: Dark World bad. Like that is by far the worst MCU movie. I don't care what you thought about the last 5+ years of films after Endgame. None of those films are Thor: The Dark World.
Yeah, you're right.
None of them.
Dark World is so bad, I don't know what happened in it. I put it out of my mind. Like, it just
and yet Endgame was like, you gonna remember this movie because we're putting it in here.
Oh yeah.
I
forgot about that.
Yeah,
even now I'm like, what?
Ether. That's how they got the ether back.
But yeah, and then on the DC side, nothing will ever be if you do it, what is it? Empirically, nothing anywhere in any universe is as bad as Batman vs Superman. It's the worst movie.
No, it's not. No, it's not. There's a new worst film.
Who's the new worst film?
You gonna say The Flash?
Yes.
Oh,
yeah. That's how bad it is. You had to purge it from your mind that you actually watched it.
Wait. No,
I
hold
forgot they made
on. Now that these movies technically exist in the DCEU, Batman and Robin, or no, Batman Forever is the worst DC film
No,
to
it's not.
date.
No, it's not.
Well, Mr. Freeze and Poison Ivy,
No, it's
the
not.
puns, the
Again,
puns.
No, because when
I'm
Bat
never
nipples.
forgiven for the way they made that dude run in
Bat
Flash.
nipples.
This is the worst thing I've ever seen.
say what you will, Schumacher took what the studio gave him and did what he was told, and that's what we got. Because that wasn't. No, and the only thing I will say about him in those last two Batman films that he did is that the studio gave him a directive and he executed it to what they wanted. So that's the only pass he gets, other than actually going through with it. He could have said no. He had clout, which is why they hired him.
Mm-hmm.
But the executives at Warner Brothers was like, we want this. He was like, okay. Because he had no comic book knowledge whatsoever.
True.
So again, Flash is still the worst. It will be the worst.
Superman Quest for Peace?
Bruh.
Look.
I can't believe you went there.
I don't care that Lex Luthor and his nephew, John Cryer, took Superman's hair out of a museum, strapped it to a nuclear bomb, and shot into his son to create a dude to beat Superman. That is still better than what we got in The Flash.
Oh, man.
Again,
every DC
forgot it happened. I was
exists.
thinking Superman stopped at Richard Pryor, you know, which it should have.
A Quest for Peace. The Supergirl movie happened.
Yes,
like,
it did. Guess what? Jonah Hex happened. That's a thing.
Jonah Hex happened. Yes.
Jonah Hex happened.
I forgot about Jonah Hex.
Mm-hmm. Lone Ranger, which is owned by Warner Brothers in DC. That's a thing that happened.
Yeah.
Okay, so
we were talking about stereotypes.
Racist Movies Award.
Yeah, you were talking about stereotypes.
Yeah, not racist, stereotypical.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Flash is still worse.
And Lone Ranger in real life was a black man. Let's talk about that.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking.
Bell Reeves. Bass Reeves, not Bell Reeves. Mm-hmm. Bell Reeves is the prison in DCU.
Bass
Reeves. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, nothing is worse than I don't care what DC does going forward. The Flash will be forever the worst movie.
It's gonna be on the podium forever.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be. My thing is, it'll be in the top 5 of the worst movies they've ever come out with. Do I think it's the worst? Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
I can't imagine how Batgirl could have been any worse.
That part. We could have got Batgirl. We should have had Batgirl.
I would rather have had Batgirl.
Okay, you calm down.
I'm just saying, I don't know who their marketing people are or who's doing the research, but if they're making movies for their target audience, then it's very clear that their target audience is in their mama's basement.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like Marvel might lean a little bit more towards a more progressive audience because they piss off a lot of the incels, the people in the basement, like, why do we gotta have all this diversity? It sucks. And we just out here living our best multicultural lives over here. But then even the comic books were like that. There's a difference there. DC can get it right. The question is, will they? They've got the opportunities. They've got the assets, the IPs, all that stuff. Just do better. Do something different. And stop trying to appeal to the lowest common denominator. Because the thing is, those diehards are going to go watch it anyway, even if they hate watch it. So make something that more of an audience would appeal to. And that's what inclusion is. I need y'all to read up on it, DC. Do better.
I got a feeling it is on the way, Joy. It is on the way.
I hope so.
We hope and
Feel
pray.
bad about Black Adam. I wanted another shot at The Rock. You know.
Keep that far.
At the Baku.
Oh,
that's
my
The Rock's
goodness.
fault. He lived long enough to become the villain.
So I will say, so James, like you say you watched James and Joy, you said you watched the Blue Beetle in the Young Justice cartoons.
Yeah.
Where do you think do you think they get a sequel? Do you think the Blue Beetle gets a sequel in the DCU? And where do you think they could possibly go with the sequel?
You know what? I would like to see the DCU. This is just me just spitballing. I would like to see the DCU abandon Justice League altogether and start up with Young Justice. And I'd like to see them develop those characters instead. That could be the one redeeming thing that they pull out of the Flash is Supergirl. And trash the rest of that movie, but that put her on the map, you know?
Yeah.
And I think I'd like to see what they do with the Young Justice ensemble, because this is their chance to start that the right way. Origin stories into ensemble cast the way Marvel did with the original Avengers. I think that would be good. And I think there's enough space between the characters and their diehards to where you're not going to get all of these super fans that are mad because Batman doesn't say this and his colors are navy blue and not aqua blue or whatever the hell they get mad about. I think that those characters are fresh too. I haven't seen Nightwing anywhere.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sick of seeing Bruce. Bruce, go lay down.
Like I said, I'm tired of seeing the Waynes die in an alley.
Right. Like if they started with Young Justice, that could be for that universe what Guardians of the Galaxy was. I didn't know that these people existed. And so my experience with them as a moviegoer is what I see on screen. And they're new and they're fresh. And they're in the universe, but they all doing something different. And it was fun. And I think they could have more fun with young characters because they're probably going to want to lean away from the hyper violence because they're going to be teenagers. Look, I'm building it for you, DC. Just do what I said. Like the rest of the world, if you listen to Black women, we can fix your shit. So listen to what I'm telling you because I'm right. I know I'm right.
I'm piggyback off of Joy because I'm tired of. While I'm happy that outside of DC's trinity of Bats, Supes, and Wonder Woman, we are finally, we got an Aquaman film about to have a second one. I was excited for the Flash movie until I saw it. I am still pissed off we did not get a Cyborg movie because of the BS behind the scenes going on over at Warner Brothers.
For sure.
Higher ups. So the initial plan for who was that? Zack Snyder, as far as what he was going to do. I was looking forward to that because he was going to helm this universe that was going to feature all of them individually.
Right.
And wanted to see where they were going. I love the Snyderverse Justice League because Cyborg actually had a purpose and a place in it.
Yeah.
Not just an afterthought token black character for what Joss Whedon did.
Right.
So I was looking forward to more of that. But yes, at this point, main three members of the Justice League, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman. And granted, look, I understand we've only had 2 Wonder Woman films, period. Yeah. And like the first representation of her in live action since Linda Carter's TV show from the late 70s, early 80s. Mm-hmm. I get that. Yes, I would like to see more of her as well. But as far as Batman and Superman, let these dudes rest in the background of other projects and characters who are out there that we can delve into. And not just Young Justice. A lot of these superheroes in Justice League who were B and C list characters actually deserve shine. Look,
like Hot Girl.
I understand that Green Lantern is a sore topic that we should probably be careful as far as bringing up because of the turd that was, but still not worse than the Flash.
They're on the podium.
It was pretty bad. It was pretty bad.
It's up there.
It was really
Maybe Ryan Reynolds tried to kill himself over that movie.
Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool went back in time and to make sure that didn't happen. But unfortunately, it exists. It's out there. But the turd that is I get it. And I would like to see stuff in just the Lantern Corps, period. It doesn't even have to focus on, first of all, screw Hal Jordan. Hal Jordan is by far, as far as I'm concerned, I don't care if he was the first human Green Lantern. He is the worst Green Lantern ever. He is a comedy of errors. I want to see Jon Stewart, Jessica Cruz, Simon Baz, anybody else but Hal Jordan as far as the Lantern Corps. The younger characters have gained notoriety through Young Justice and the Teen Titans cartoons. Mm-hmm. So Robin, Cyborg, Raven, Beast Boy.
Yeah.
That's
the ensemble cast I want to see. Yeah.
Batgirl, Aqualad. Who else?
Isn't he black too?
Aqualad is black.
Do that.
All all of these other characters in your, like, if you just look at Young Justice season 2, your jaw will drop about how many characters that they basically try to frame. Granted, yes, the main thing was the reach, but there were a dozen characters on the team at that time. Bumblebee, who we don't get enough of. I want to see more Bumblebee.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Karen Beecher deserves some shine.
Yes.
So, yes, I definitely want to see something with the younger characters, sidekicks, whatever you want to call them. They deserve something because, look, I know dude, what's his name? Who played Robin in the last 2 Batman films with Schumacher?
Chris O'Donnell.
Chris O'Donnell. Like, he's admitted on multiple talk shows, he still has the Robin costume from those movies.
I don't even want to know what kind of thing he's doing with that.
But he was like, you know, they said I could take, you know, no one said I couldn't take it, so I took it.
They ain't gonna use it again because
But
you know, I going back to that Batman, the good Batman trilogy, when they finished with was his name gonna be Drake?
Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Yeah, I like Joseph Gordon-Levitt as an actor. I would have liked to have seen that arc continue, even though I know it can't. But even the character, I would like to see them bring that character in, maybe at a slightly younger age. Again, just on this whole like new generation of superheroes, because Marvel's about to do the same thing. This could be DC's chance to match them like apples to apples, tit for tat, with a young crew that they are developing. They can spend more time with.
Right.
I don't. Sometimes being different is just different for no reason. Maybe they want to follow what's happening right now. You know.
So I feel like James Gunn is pretty much mentioned the Superman Legacy film is going to be the first movie in the DCU landscape, right?
And what's it going to be about?
So this essentially is following a couple different storylines. So Kingdom Come.
You say that like I know what that is.
No. So I'm about to tell you. So Kingdom Come essentially is a story where, of course, Superman's older, Wonder Woman's older, Batman's older, and they're pretty much, you know, past their prime. And you see these new upstart of heroes come along. Already past their prime. And you see these new upstarts of heroes come through and deliver a more gray sense of justice. Like someone kills the Joker. And there's a lot of brutality as far as the way they dole out their justice. Superman pretty much has to come along and be like, hey, you know, heroes do not kill.
Yes, they do. I like Black Adam.
I mean, if he trips and falls on that nail, that's not my fault.
So essentially, it ends up being the old brand of justice where you have the Trinity versus these new upstarts of heroes that come along. I think he's going to end up adapting that into the film, where you have, like, again, the characters they've already been introduced that are going to be in this film. You have Guy Gardner, Green Lantern.
No. He's
you have Hawkgirl, you have Metamorpho.
Okay.
And the similarity between all 3 of those characters off the bat is how they dole out their justice, the sense of brutality, right? Okay. So you have someone like a Superman. He's mentioned Superman. This is not his origin. This is not a Superman origin story. It's a Clark Kent origin story, a workplace origin story. So Superman's been around for like a year or so. So I think he's going to pretty much like, Superman is this beacon of hope. This is how you do things. You don't have to be brutal. You don't have to be, you don't have to dole out justice in a means of gray. Heroes don't kill. Like, heroes don't dole out justice this way. And I think that Superman being an inspiration to other younger heroes out there could be a means or a way we start to get younger heroes on film. So you might see Lamar Duana come back up in another Blue Beetle movie. You know, I know James Gunn had interest in a Static Shock. You might see Static as far as drawing inspiration. If this Superman character can do it, why can't I? You know, again, and in my opinion, so if you do have another Flash movie, I think most of us have grown up, as far as me, most of us have grown up on Wally West, as opposed to Barry Allen, because Wally was the one that was in the Justice League cartoons. So I feel like you can do a Wally West, get away from Barry Allen for a little bit, and eventually bring back a Barry Allen, or not. We
don't have to. You know, and based on what you're describing, if he's doling out, you know, justice, saying you don't have to be so hard-headed, maybe he can set an example by killing Guy Gardner. I'm sorry. I just have this personal aversion to Guy. Like, I would rather watch Hal Jordan again than see Guy Gardner on screen. I'm sorry. I just I can't get because and I say this because Guy Gardner is basically the dude bro incel in the parents' basement who rails against any positive change whatsoever because
he's a alpha male podcast.
and yet the Guardians felt need to give him a freaking ring. Like, you gave this asshole a ring.
Well, I was gonna say in the original Green Lantern story, the only reason Hal Jordan got a ring over Guy Gardner is because he was closer in vicinity to the ring. It could have gone to either one of them.
That's sad because
Hal got injured.
Not a good judge of character.
Hal got they made the Manhunters. Of course, not a good judge of character. They're dumb. They're dumb. Partner. But no, I think I think that Superman Legacy movie is a way you start to introduce, because like other characters are gonna pop up in that film. So it's a world already full of established characters. Like you have Mr. Terrific. Again,
definitely long overdue for the big screen.
Yes, and I'm very excited about that. You have Mr. Terrific. You possibly have some members of the Authority. So I'm pretty jazzed about that one too. So again, this could be a way you start to introduce other obscure characters, other small time characters, for a way for them to actually get their big screen debut and hopefully get a film out of it. Because if there's one person that does obscure characters well, it is James Gunn.
True.
Yeah.
True.
Proved it in 2 different companies, so I can't knock that.
Yeah. I mean, but it just depends on how collaborative the rest of the DC organization wants to be with him. They hired him for a reason, but I've seen it time and again where they hire creativity and then they squash it.
Yeah, because they meddle. They meddle, and that's the difference. We've talked about this here plenty of times. Even though Disney,
like that booyah thing, like just let that shit go.
Like, Disney tells Marvel, do your thing. Just hey, don't screw up and don't do too much.
No sex, no cursing. Have at it.
Right.
Yeah, because they got their own studio.
Exactly. But Warner Brothers over DC wants to walk somebody in there, like you said. Well, my kid grew up watching Cyborg on Teen Titans, so make sure Cyborg says booyah in this movie.
Well, so I think with the new regime they have in place, the fact that they actually are building a physical studio in London, like DC Warner Brothers allowing DC to build their own studio in London. So the fact that they're starting to establish their own, like, hey, James, we're giving you the keys. Peter, we're giving you the keys. Make something happen. Like, I think if anybody has seen over the past couple of years, different regimes meddling in different directors' visions, does not work out. It never works out. So why don't you give someone who actually has a passion for telling a story, who has the people on the team behind him to help like Tom King. Tom King is on staff with James Gunn. Like, dude wrote one of the greatest Supergirl stories of all time. Like, this guy is on staff. So it's like, why? Like, let these people create. Let these people make magic, and don't get in their way. Don't get in their way with it. So yeah.
Well, let's just hope that there's no future mergers happening, because it seems like every time Warner Brothers wants to merge with somebody, whoever they merge with is like, this sucks. Let's do something else.
Yeah.
Because it sucked.
And maybe sometimes it didn't suck. Maybe we just didn't get enough of it because meddling.
So go ahead.
Blue Beetle.
Yeah.
Back to that.
Yes. So regarding Blue Beetle, Ted Kord, the painting that they had in the movie looked eerily similar to Jason Sudeikis. Very, very similar to Jason Sudeikis. I would love to see him as Ted Kord, because I know they are doing a Booster Gold show on HBO. I would love to see Jason Sudeikis as Ted Kord. I think that'd be perfect casting. Absolute perfect casting.
I'm here for it. I like Jason Sudeikis. He's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I think he can do a good combo of superhero but funny. Yeah.
That would be interesting casting. If only for the cameo. Who was the voice at the end where you hear the computer speak back like, "This is Ted
See,
Cord and I'm still alive."
I don't think it's listed,
Okay.
but I think it's that painting looked just like, I think it may be Jason, but it looked
Yeah, and I
just
could,
like him.
and I think I blinked and missed the painting. Like I
Mhm.
know there was a lot going on in that mansion because it was all dilapidated and run down and everything, and that's what they were going for. It was
Mhm.
like, okay, this is a rundown old mansion. I'm not really paying attention too much to what the background as opposed to the two characters who are in the scene. So
Right.
yeah, I'll have to check it out again to catch that painting.
Yeah, but really good nod in that. I thought the music that they had in the movie was like a good, like everything was like
Yes.
synth wave everything almost. So it's just like it's a nice play to like the 80s. And I feel like if they were to do a Booster Gold show, because he's a time traveling superhero, that's somebody
Mhm.
that can go back in time and to the 80s. You have a Ted Cord, Blue Beetle, and that's how you get those two characters to essentially meet up. So I think that'd be a good way to introduce both those characters and have their relationship and their friendship kind of introduced.
I could see it.
Yeah, I'm with that.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you give this film and why?
I give it an 8.
An 8? Okay.
Yeah, because Black Panther's always going to be 10. Beat that if you dare. And then there's a lot of other movies that I think were better than this movie, but then there's a whole lot that were worse. And so if I had to scale it with Black Panther, if Black Panther's out of it and it's in a category by itself, then I might bump this to 9. Because I thought it was really good, and I think it might be sequel worthy. I hope they can keep the chemistry going into a second movie and not give me something thrown together. But yeah, it was better than Eternals. It was better than Thor, Love and Thunder. It ain't hard to do. It was better than. So I actually liked Age of Ultron. It was better than Ultron. So yeah, I'm gonna give it an 8.
Okay.
And I like Black Widow too. So I love the family dynamics.
Go ahead, Teresa.
I was actually thinking 8 as well, because for me, it's coming from more of a just an entertainment value film, because I'm not the comic book person, so I don't know canon and all that kind of stuff, all these stories, and I was not familiar with the Blue Beetle character. So just from a purely entertainment, my first exposure to Blue Beetle's lore or whatever, I was very entertained enough to willingly go see it again. So yeah, and Black Panther's always going to be a 10, so an 8.
James, go ahead.
I would give it 8.5 with 9 potential.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to actually find something I didn't like in this movie. Like I said, George Lopez, take or leave.
Yeah.
There wasn't a lot of him to warrant complaining about him. But like I said, the scenes he did have, there were moments, and again, just moments, probably about 3 total. It was like, should I be laughing at that? Like,
right. A little dirty sometimes.
I don't know if I should be like, but story was well done. It's open-ended to go literally anywhere, considering how the movie ends. And like I said, the post-credits sequence where you hear Ted Kord's voice still being alive. Because look, everybody loves Black Panther, but my creme de la creme as far as superhero films is Spider-Verse. So that's Spider-Verse movies will always be
that first
for me. So
that first Spider-Verse movie had me crying. I was like, oh. Mr. Whistle, he knows who he is now. Yeah.
But yeah, so this is if James Gunn can focus on a positive that was in this movie and carry this forward around this character, whether this character gets another solo film or an ensemble film with other superheroes his age, i.e. those Young Justice characters or Teen Titans characters, and we see him with that group down the line, I'm all for it. I'm definitely in favor of a sequel because there's so much to explore, because we scratched the surface in this movie as far as, you know, where did the Scarab come from? You know, how much did Ted Kord actually know about the Scarab while he had it? Because we saw what his sister did. She was basically just trying to drain the energy to turn it into a weapon. She really didn't give a crap about anything else. Like you said, it was a commodity. But what did Ted Kord find out about it? You know,
right?
So yeah, and you know, and for me, that ending where Jaime and the Scarab finally get on the same wavelength after his father passed away, and they're communicating with each other and finally connect, become one symbiotic, if you will. That was very well done. Dare I say, probably a little bit better than what I've seen in animated form, because he is still at odds with the Scarab in various animated iterations where they're still fighting with each other. So, yeah, I like how that was done as far as them coming together.
Yeah. I'm going to agree with you, James. I give it a good 8.5 with 9 potential. I felt like its release was sandwiched. I mean, it was right after Spider-Man, the Spider-Verse movie, right before the Ninja Turtles movie, which I thought was excellent. Like, I feel like we got 3 really good quality films, like back to back to back.
Absolutely.
And I felt like if it were by itself, like if it hadn't been sandwiched between those 2 films, I think it would have gotten a lot more fanfare. I felt like if the writer strike and the actor strike hadn't been going on, I think it might have got a lot more push. But because like I told somebody else, I don't think the box office numbers are necessarily accurate to the quality of the film.
It's not.
I agree.
It's not. I feel like the quality of the film is much higher and much more than what the box office shows. And I think James Gunn sees that. So which is why I think Zolo is continuing as Jaime Reyes. I do think the sequel is I mean, I think the movie is sequel worthy. Partially because like you have a really good ensemble cast, you have a lot of chemistry there, and with the Young Justice cartoon, you have a blueprint of what you can do. Like you had in the Young Justice cartoon, you had an Apache Chief redemption, where you had a character that had similar power set, but wasn't such a stereotype.
Long Shadow.
Long Shadow. You had the introduction of Static Shock of Virgil, who was pretty cool, was well written in that. So you had other characters that were diverse characters that were written alongside Jaime. So I feel like that could be a way to introduce some other characters into this universe.
Yeah.
All in all, I thought it was great. Of course, it's not gonna ever beat Black Panther, but I felt like it was a really good representation of that character, of a diverse character that personally I've been wanting to see DC put forward, because I mean prior to that we had gotten white character after white character after white character. So yeah, it was good to see a good family film, unlike Shazam. So
yeah.
2 things real quick.
Go ahead.
One reason, one thing that sticks with me is the little sister. I mean, she ended up being a great character, but in the very beginning, she was super annoying. So
little sisters are annoying.
Well,
no, because if I bring home a box from work and you just open it and pull stuff, be touching stuff, girl, that's a whooping. That's a whole whooping.
Right, and just blurting out all the stuff they're trying to break to Jaime gently and stuff, and she's just what She got on my. It was like a real, like you had a little sister, because she was getting on my nerves like a little sister. But she redeemed herself in the end, most definitely, and. Like I said about George Lopez, I kind of almost wanted not to like him, but I just really did like that character, because while Uncle Rudy was kind of black sheepish of the family.
Mhm.
So you got to see that he was really smart.
An
Yeah.
inventor.
He
Yeah.
might have been
Yeah.
this kind of hapless inventor. He's inventing this stuff, and everybody's like, "What? What is he up to now?" But he was actually putting together some good shit out there. It actually
Yeah.
worked. And when he jumped on the computer in the Beetle cave or whatever, he was really a smart guy, and I appreciated that.
Mm-hmm.
Me too.
Yeah, I did too.
He was definitely the connection to the level of technology that was in there, because Jaime and Ted's daughter had no idea, like,
Right.
this stuff is ancient, archaic. Like, this was technology from the 90s. Like,
Right.
Yeah. Ooh, the
like,
90s.
be lucky you didn't have to deal with dial-up internet.
And he could jump right in there.
So that was definitely right up his alley. So yeah, that was cool.
All right. Anything else anybody want to discuss, or anything else to bring up, or?
I hope we see the character again.
Yeah,
Yes.
I hope we do too. I really hope we do too.
Yeah, he is what, like Kyle mentioned earlier, James Gunn has pretty much already come out and said 3 people he's keeping in their roles: Viola Davis, John Cena, and Blue Beetle, Zola. Because watching him in Cobra Kai, kid is phenomenal in Cobra Kai. I will say that. Look, I know some people look at Cobra Kai and like, extension of the Karate Kid. Ew, no, I get it. But those young actors in Cobra Kai pretty much take the show from Johnny and Daniel on several occasions across the board. So I get it. You don't 50, 60-year-old, Johnny Lawrence and Daniel LaRusso fighting, which they do, but not a lot of those kids. Those kids are front and center.
Yeah, I agree. One last question. So with him only keeping 3 people in the roles, does that mean Jason Momoa could possibly be Lobo?
Yeah.
Yes, that's a better fit.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I like that.
And it probably is better for him to be Lobo than Aquaman.
Because quietly, I didn't need another Aquaman.
No, I didn't either.
Much as I liked looking at him, I'm just put him on a poster. I don't need. Nobody asked for this.
I'll take it. They always seem to come out around my birthday, so I am accepting them as personal birthday gifts.
Understood.
I got nothing. Oh, but yeah, these are 3 characters he's pretty much like definitely keeping. There could very well be others. I think there are others who are deserving of keeping their roles.
I like Harley Quinn.
Yeah, people were surprised that Margot Robbie, considering what he did with her in the second Suicide Squad movie, that she wasn't, one of the actors mentioned.
I don't
know. He could be holding some stuff back.
He could be.
Mm-hmm.
She could be one of them.
We can recast her.
We can recast
her.
I mean, Margot Robbie, take her, leave her. I'm indifferent, but I will say I like what he did with her better in the second Suicide Squad film, as opposed to what whoever was doing in the Birds of Prey movie, because I'm sorry, that was a miss.
Yes.
It was a miss.
I applaud the effort as far as the other 3 characters, but that was a miss for Harley Quinn.
They could have kept all them characters. The only thing that I will say I liked about Birds of Prey was that it gave you a chance to see that Harleen Quinzel is actually a very well qualified psychiatrist. Like, she would just stop in the middle of her crazy and diagnose something. And I was like, oh yeah, that's right. She's actually smart. She's just insane. And they don't have to be mutually exclusive. So I did like that aspect. The rest of the movie, no.
Yeah, I'm of the belief that we don't need Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn because Kaylee Cuoco does a better version and a better job as Harley Quinn in the animated series. Much better job in the animated
But can she
live action?
Live action.
See, that I don't know, but I know for sure we could do better than Margot.
I like Barbie.
Oh no, she's great as Barbie. Like, don't get me wrong.
No, I just call her Barbie now. So same way I call Sam Jackson Gator.
I don't think maybe it has to do with the writing, but I don't think her Harley Quinn has been very good.
Okay.
To me. So, yeah.
One hit, two misses.
Yeah. Right. So, yeah.
Yeah, because the first Suicide Squad movie, she was a little over the top as Harley Quinn. But again, that's probably the direction she was given.
Right.
So.
All right. So
Well,
I
this has been
think,
fun.
yeah, this has been fun. I was gonna say, what do we have another one until Aquaman?
As far as the DC side, no. Aquaman is the next thing.
Yeah. Oh, what about Marvel?
Marvel would be the Marvels. And before that, Loki. Season 2.
Yeah. All right.
I'm here to talk about Loki. Do we want to pivot and talk about Ahsoka at some point?
I will definitely bring that up because
So I haven't been able to watch any of Ahsoka because I have watched The Mandalorian season 2, but my partner has not been. She has not seen any of The Mandalorian season 2 or 3. So until she catches up, until she finishes The Mandalorian season 1, we can't do anything.
Yeah, shame. You move out.
Understand, but none of that matters to Ahsoka. It's not
I
connected.
actually finished Rebels before I started Ahsoka.
So James, you said it's not connected?
The Mandalorian show is not connected to Ahsoka. Does Ahsoka show up in Mandalorian? Yes.
Yes.
But nothing in that show, in any of those seasons, is direct. Like, you don't need to finish that to watch Ahsoka. In the same way that, like, Teresa, I'm happy you finished Rebels before watching Ahsoka. The same way I told another one of my friends, it's not necessary to watch all of Clone Wars and all of Rebels before you watch Ahsoka.
Okay.
They do, because I've been watching every single week at release time. They do a good job of telling the story so that if you've missed anything before, they'll tell you what's going on.
Okay.
So the show does a good job of, like, we understand everyone hasn't watched everything. Some people haven't, seen all the lore and stuff like that. But
I need to watch it earlier in the day because I fell asleep on the first episode.
Like, here are the high points. Here's why these things are important. These are the characters. This is why, da. So yes, they will make references to things, but they will tell you why those references are important.
I think that Tuesday release threw me off because I always forget that it has come out. I didn't even think about it until you mentioned it. Joy, did you mention it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But yeah, we can.
Now I'm thinking I got to go watch Ahsoka. I forgot he was even out.
They're all done now, so you can binge it.
The last one?
Yeah, next week is the last episode.
Okay.
Yeah,
8 episodes.
There's hope. There's hope for me. All right, cool.
All right, so we're going to wrap this up. Final thoughts for anyone on Blue Beetle?
Great movie.
Teresa?
I hope we see him again.
Yeah.
Him and Nana.
Yeah, so my final thought is I need to pop that sequel out before something happened to Nana because she's 103. And I want her to do it. I want this actress to do it. So.
Like double. Yeah.
And with that, I will say good night, everybody, from the Moana Nui After Dark DC Marvel podcast. Again, the QR code in the bottom corner of the screen, scan that to help those affected by the wildfires in Hawaii. Take you to some links so that you can see what's needed and what you can contribute if you so desire to do so.
You can't see the QR code right now. We're covering it.
It's there. There.
It's, you know what? If I take myself out, you'll be able to see it. Hang on.
There it is.
Yeah, there we go.
There's the QR code. So freeze the screen, scan that, and that will take you to the links where you can help those affected by the wildfires in Hawaii. So for Joy, Teresa, and Kyle, signing off for the evening. You all have a wonderful night until the next time.
So many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can't keep history on the shelf. If we won't tell it, we will.
If this the land of the free, it was a freedom then, when they annexed Hawaii and called it Cedar Lands, without any type of payment and no signing off. Called themselves the Republic in 1894. 1.2 million acres overtaken from the native Hawaiians. When they resisted, the West retaliated in violence and erasure. The Hawaiian language was banned as part of colonialism's plan to expand, yeah.
Stuck between a rock and a hard place. Multiple bombings of Kaho'olawe as a part of their ongoing war with Asia. Used it as a place for target practice. No consent or compensation. Colonizers call for annexation. No work out for all the locals. School will never let you know. So many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can't keep history on the shelf. If we won't tell it, we will. Too many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can't keep history on the shelf. If we won't tell it, we will. We will.
So if we put Hawaii into perspective, well, Black and Asian history is interconnected. Considering the fight with the Pacific, then of course, versus Asia, they was treated as a middleman for war, but didn't let the Western colorism run its course, cause dark skin was a sign of dignity to core. The land was taken in the name of capitalism, when prior to it was an actual kingdom. Clap back at the system.
Stuck between a rock and a hard place. Multiple bombings of Kaho'olawe as a part of their ongoing war with Asia. Used it as a place for target practice. No consent or compensation. Colonizers call for annexation. No work out for all the locals. School will never let you know. So many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can't keep history on the shelf. If we won't tell it, we will. Too many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can't keep history on the shelf. If we won't tell it, we will. So many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can't keep history on the shelf. If we won't tell it, we will. Too many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can't keep history on the shelf. If we won't tell it, we will. We will.